What is up everyone, Ethan here, wishing you a very happy Christmas. In the final month of Evening Star, during the time of Tamriel's traditional New Life Festival, all of Tamriel is in high festive spirits. It's a time of gift-giving, parties, parades, and free drinks at the inns and taverns. So, in light of our own holiday season, I am bringing to you a build that will help you bring some festive fun into your Skyrim experience this year. Happy Christmas, and I hope you all have fun playing as the Grinch. Many of you may be familiar with Dr. Seuss's classic tale, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Now you can play as this traditional Christmas Grouch in Skyrim. Though it will grant him absolutely no useful skill bonuses, the Grinch will be an orc simply for the funny aesthetic it offers. Despite this, he still has some pretty cool powers from the Imperious Races of Skyrim mod. He's granted 3 new passive abilities. Bloodlust will allow him to regenerate and move faster in combat, an effect which degenerates over time. Shockwave allows him to jump and cause an earthquake once per battle, and Strength of Steel increases the power of his armor and weapons while decreasing the power of their enchantments. Using the Aurora Standing Stones mod, the Steed Stone will be the optimal option, as it gives you a passive bag of holding ability which grants you infinite carry weight. This will be very useful, as you are a thief who plunders literally everything in a home, so you won't need to be bothered with over-encumbrance. Everyone down in Winterhold liked the New Life Festival a lot, but the Grinch, who lived just south of Winterhold, did not. The Grinch hated the New Life Festival, the whole festive season. Now please don't ask why, no one quite knows the reason. It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right, or perhaps that his shoes were too tight, but whatever the reason, each Evening Star, this grumpy orc's festive spirit was considerably below par. And so, during winter, with all his Grinchy might, he would descend into the city in the middle of the night. He would sneak and he'd creep, making not so much as a peep, stealing into town to take everything from Bjorna's oddments to Dager's sheep. And so it continued at the end of each year, that the residents of Winterhold would lose all they held dear. Every New Life Festival they were in such a bind, as the mysterious Grinch would come rob them all blind. From this humorous child's rhyme, we learn that the Grinch is a local legend in Winterhold, passed down from year to year. When he was a child, the Grinch was a member of a nomadic group of orcs that traveled around Tamriel's northern regions. The Grinch was something of an outcast as a child. He showed little interest in becoming a big strong warrior like all of his peers, but he did have a certain aptitude for thieving, if not poetry. His skills as a pickpocket were unmatched, thus even the adults hated him. The Grinch always felt discontent with the nomadic lifestyle that he led, and he aimed to settle down into a more domestic way of life as soon as he was of age. Accustomed to Tamriel's colder regions, he opted to live in Skyrim's northernmost city of Winterhold. The Grinch wasn't really accepted in Winterhold either. The residents of the city distrusted him greatly. Nords were never very fond of orcs, or anyone else who wasn't a Nord, come to think of it. This didn't stop the Grinch from visiting his favorite place, the local bar and tavern known as the Frozen Hearth. The New Life Festival was a big day in Winterhold each year. It began on the 25th of each Evening Star and celebrated until the 1st of Morning Star, bringing Skyrim happily into the new year. The people of Winterhold saw it as a time for gift-giving, and the children would play out in the snow and exchange small presents that they had gotten for one another. Most importantly, the Frozen Hearth had a long-standing tradition of giving out free ale at the beginning and ending days of the New Life Festival. One year, on the day of the New Life Festival, as the more wintry months had begun to set in and the snow was falling merrily from above, the Grinch was enjoying the beautiful night as he spent most other nights, enjoying a warm meal and good meat in the tavern. The Frozen Hearth was filled with festive merriment early in the night, but as the night wore on and the few remaining patrons had had more than one too many drinks, the crowd became much more rowdy. Suddenly, the unpopular Grinch found himself the center of their attention. They laughed, hurling slurred insults and abuses at him. He did everything he could to keep a fight from breaking out, but it was inevitable. He was chased from the city that night without any invitation to return. He retreated past the tall mountains that overlooked the city to a small abandoned shack fairly far from the city. He lived there for some time, wandering the tundra in search of food. He found and domesticated a reindeer called Max. Alone and Alone, apart from his only antlered friend, and embittered, the New Life Festival became his least favorite time of year. Year after year, he would climb atop the mountain overlooking the city and stare unhappily as the citizens below decorated for the wretched holiday. One year, on the 201st year of the Fourth Era, he decided that enough was enough. The Grinch had come to despise the time of gift-giving. Nobody had ever given him anything, and so he would take it. All of it. It is of course now that you will take a hand in the Grinch's Christmas antics. This build is really purely made for the fun of playing it during Christmas, but I've tried to make it viable for anything else you'd like. Use the alternate start mod to begin as a patron in Winterhold's Inn in the Frozen Hearth. From there you can roleplay being chased from the inn and retreating into the shack at the far end of Winterhold. More on the player home later. The main point of this build is to sneak into Winterhold at night and literally rob everyone blind, stealing almost everything in their household. But before you do this, you'll obviously need to prepare and level up a bit. The Thieves Guild quest can be very useful for this and is fun to play in any event. No other quest lines are really necessary, but anything you can justify for the character or you think you would just enjoy are viable. If you don't want to get involved in any drawn-out quests, you can just run around Skyrim pickpocketing and lockpicking at every turn. If you get a bounty, that can actually add to the immersion of the character, as most everyone in Skyrim is likely to hate the Grinch. Essentially, kind of just build yourself up to the main event, which is robbing Winterhold of literally everything it has. If you've read How the Grinch Stole Christmas, you'll know that the real Grinch has a change of heart at the end of the story and brings everything back, even throwing in a few extra presents. This can be really fun to do at the end as well. Just dropping all the stuff in a massive pile on the ground is really funny. There's nothing more to be said about the role-playing part apart from just keep to yourself and stay away from civilization unless you're buying something, crafting something, or most often, stealing something. As for a playstyle, this guy is purely a thief. Depending on how much you want to do with his character, he can also have some basic combat skills. And if you really want to take him into combat, I suggest sneaking around and just knifing people in the back. And if you get too overwhelmed, use the earthquake ability you have as an orc to give yourself some time to escape, only to run back and sneak kill everyone there. Now we get into the more technical parts of the build. The main skills for this build will be sneak, pickpocket, lockpicking, one-handed, and light armor. I've decided not to get too technical with what specific perks you'll be taking for this build, as I wanted to keep the video a little shorter, and as this build is only meant to be played at Christmas really, I wanted to give you guys a little more freedom there. Just use the skills I chose as a guideline, and decide what you want your character to specialize in. Obviously, thieving is going to be important, but you might want to put some more emphasis on one-handed or whatever you choose, and just feel free to do what you think is best for your character and your playthrough. Now we just have a few final things to go over before we wrap up the build. As for followers and mounts, followers will just slow you down, but your only friend, the Reindeer Max, is a very fun and festive mount to play around with. The mod that adds him, Festive Flight, allows you to literally fly around on the back of a red-nosed reindeer. It's really fun, although it may cause the occasional game crash and is pretty glitchy, but again, it's fun, it's Christmas, so who really cares? You can obtain Max, also known as Rudolph, when a courier visits you in a major city delivering a note. Read it and you will get a new power allowing you to summon your new friend. As for housing, you will use the White Wind Player Home mod, which adds a house just northeast of Windhelm on the eastern border of Winterhold. It's free, so you can just settle in when you start the game. Finally, weapons and armor are going to be very crucial for the aesthetic of this character. A full set of armor from the Scowl Santa Suit mod will be used by this character. This armor just really fits the fun, festive aspect of this build, and lore-wise can be justified by saying the Grinch wanted to disguise himself when entering town. Of course, we can explain it any way we want, but really it's just a fun, craftable Santa outfit. Enough said. As for weapons, any dagger will do fine. Mayrune's Razor is a good option simply because it's a really freaking good weapon. As with my Halloween build, this build will have some mods that will make it look really nice and Christmassy and much more festive than the original Skyrim. All the mods for that are going to be linked in the optional mods section of the description down below, so if you want to check out which mods I chose to make my game look much more Christmassy and festive, go down and check that out. And that covers everything you'll need to know to bring the classic Christmas character the Grinch into Skyrim this Christmas. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and definitely drop a comment down below with some feedback. I reply to all my comments, so you can definitely get a response from that. But again, guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been The Grinch. I've been Ethan from the Pixel Era Productions, and I'll sign out today wishing you a very happy Christmas.